and we had great success with it.
In 2017, you sold your agency business. Why? Why did you do that?
Yeah, I was, I had a fairly big team at that point, and most of what I was doing, and pardon the term, was adult babysitting, which was really, when you run a fairly big team, part of your job is managing that team, and that can take up a lot of your time and energy. Where I did a time analysis over a 2-month period of how did I spend my working day. And in fact, the way I looked at it was, how do I spend my waking day? How much sleep am I getting, and how do I spend the hours of my waking day? And after 2 months of that time analysis, I looked at the time that I was spending on the things that I felt, A, that I loved, and B, that were in my sort of zone of genius, as I defined it at that point, compared to all the other time that I was spending to do on the things that I had to do. And it was about, I think it was 12% of, I was in my zone of genius, and the rest of the time was just doing all the things that I had to do to run the business. And so I thought, oh goodness, what am I going to do about this?
Yeah.
And so I couldn't figure out a way to unwind the other attributes to it. So I thought, well, maybe it's time for me to set this business up for sale and then transition out so I could do the work that I'm doing right now.
And how did you do that? I mean, did you already have a potential acquirer, or did you go to a business broker, or what did you do to actually exit from that business?
Yeah, lots of it are confidential, but I can talk about some of my mental approach to it. But when I made the mental decision, there were some things that I knew I wanted to structure in-house and have sort of the right team, so that when I transitioned out, there was a sellable entity there. And so when I thought about, okay, there was probably 2 years worth of work to reconfigure certain things within the business so that it was ready for sale. And at that point, I just started contacting people, and there was somebody who I was working with that was kind of an expert in the merger and acquisition world, and he helped me think about how to position it. And by that point, I had a couple of suitors come my way, because there's people that want to buy businesses all the time out there. And I kept, those folks at bay for kind of a lot of years, because I wasn't really interested, or at least I didn't think I was interested. But when it came time and those invitations came in, I started to have those conversations. And when I ultimately sold it, it was between a large holding company and another agency. And it was the large holding company would have wrapped me up for another 5 to 7 years. And I was like, not interested in that.
Right.
So I ended up merging with this other group.
Got you. So are you still active in that business today, or?
I advised them, but I'm not fully active in that business. There was a transition period where I was much more active in it, but currently I'm all out, and I still send them business, and we still talk on a regular basis, and I advise them.
And how many employees or team members were there total from at the time where you exited the business?
There was about 25 people that I had on my full-time roster, and there was
Right.
probably another dozen, maybe 10 to a dozen contract employees that we brought in on freelance basis when I
Got you.
sold the business.
And then Steve, looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently with the company, either like in the way that you ran it, or the systems that you used, or like legal structural stuff, anything that could have made the business more valuable or just better? Kind of anything in hindsight that stands out?
Oh my gosh, how much time do we have?
Yeah, maybe just a few that you think like, wow,
Yeah,
these are
yeah,
important for people to know about.
yeah. I did a lot of work in the culture. I'm really proud of that within the business. I did a lot of work around the positioning for the company, so I think that was pretty valuable. And we had some intellectual property within sort of black box approaches within the business, and we built things like a learning management system that were valuable within the business. What I wish I would have done was sold it earlier. And because what I didn't realize, and this was sort of a personal thing, that I was actually ready to leave the business before I knew I was ready to leave the business. And so what I wish I would have done is sold it earlier. And what I also wish I would have done is probably opened up multiple offices, because we only had one office, and probably have something on the East Coast as well as the West Coast. I'm based in San Diego. so that we had, kind of multiple time zones covered. And I think it would have been a much more valuable entity at that point. But that would have also, to do that would have changed my life and lifestyle. So that's sort of a minor regret, if you will, but I know I have eyes wide open about what it would have taken to actually get it to that point.
Yeah. What's been the biggest change or